Hey, what up, cats? Ready, Eddie?
Oh yeah. Happy
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year!
Here.
It's the new year, 2025, and we're still alive. Welcome back to Birds of a Feather, the CoEd edition. It's your girl, still here, AJ, the Suburban Princess, and Eddie B. What up, Eddie B? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year too. This is our first one of the year.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, honestly, the last 2 weeks of the season weren't anything to really talk about. Like I said last pod, I wasn't sure if I
Yeah.
even wanted to discuss them. We knew where we stood. The Birds clinched
And
their
now
number two
now we're
seed.
getting
Now
to the
we
nitty
know.
now we're getting to the nitty gritty.
Now we get into the real stuff. This is the playoffs. This is where it matters.
Hmm.
So first of all, we're just going to discuss going back to week 18, just because we didn't really talk about it. But this was our first game since week 17 when Hertz unexpectedly took a little boo boo, got into concussion protocol,
Yeah.
and Mr. Kenny Pickett took over. So since then, we witnessed a whole game with Tanner McKee for the Giants game. So first off, what was your impression of Kenny Pickett taking over the rest of that Commanders game?
Well, I mean, I think he did okay. But I mean we lost, but
Yeah.
you know what? If I know we would have beat him if we had Hurtson, but at the same time, Kenny almost did it, but he just couldn't he couldn't sustain drives long enough.
Mm-mm.
That's one thing Hurts was good at. He get the drive, keep him long.
Mm-hmm. I think with Kenny, we noticed too that even going in cold turkey, he could have been a lot worse, but he actually didn't do as bad. I mean, he finished the first drive that Hurts got hurt in the second series. He ended it with a touchdown. So that was a good little piggyback off of what was happening because everything had to go quickly. Um, yeah, you're right. He didn't sustain drives long enough, but I don't think the defense held their end of the bargain when it came to them last couple of seconds or minute in the at the end of that game that could have won it. So technically, I think the defense was just gassed because offense was getting off the field so much at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
So, so it
definitely.
wasn't really totally on Kenny, but I told you, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not a fan of Kenny Pickett in terms of being like a QB2. I just don't. I feel like he still kind of has the height issue that Hurts has a little bit that makes him want to run and scramble too from time to time.
But he
I mean,
but he can't
yes,
run. Yeah,
yeah, he can't run like Hurts, obviously, but
yeah.
that's what he had to do at times when he was, feeling a little like he had to jump back from the O line. And so I
Hmm.
think that's why some of those, I mean, he did throw some great bombs to AJ and Devonta, so I'll give him props for that.
Yeah.
But as far as like east to west and trying to do those little hook, things, it didn't really work with him. But for a flash forward to the Giants game, and shout out because now our QB1 is back, so I'm wearing my Hurt shirt backwards. But the Giants game was just all my favorite long necked QB3, Tanner
I
McKee.
like I like Tanner McKee.
I love Tanner McKee. That's why I call him long neck because he's that perfect 6'6" height pocket passer guy. You felt more like he knew what he was doing, even starting and even being in a condition. Like at one point, I thought they were even going to pull him and put in the Ian Book guy, but they didn't need to. I think they felt like Tanner had a nice rhythm. The Giants game was pretty much a wash, but for them to finish like that on week 18 is impressive with backups.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Giants went against our second and third team pretty much. I mean, so hey, they look good. The second team offensive line did great. I mean,
I
for
was
the
going to
most
say
part.
going against Giant starters, that's a big good look for second and third
Yeah,
guys in there. Um, I mean, now at this point, we're like 2 weeks removed, so it's kind of like a blur. But I just know when I went back and did watch week 18, I just like the fact that even when Tanner didn't maintain the red zone touches that they should have got, for them to finish that game the way they did, and for Elliott to kick as well as he's been doing, because he's been very inconsistent for Jake Elliott this year, um,
yeah,
which has got me a little nerve wracked. I'm not gonna lie, I'm thinking about they need to draft a kicker in the draft this year. I think it's time. What do you
yeah,
feel?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it always gets to that point after a few years. I mean, sometimes it's time to look for a kicker
It's
to
time to
draft
just at
him.
least mix it up. Yeah, like draft
Draft
somebody
draft
in
him, draft
there.
him in like the seventh round.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because I
yeah,
mean, yeah, like whatever scraps are left. Like if there's a kicker there, I think they should look at him because I really do feel like maybe the time of Jake Elliott getting them 61 yarders are long gone because he's struggling at 50 yards now, wind or not.
Yeah,
So I'm I do feel like that's a liability come playoff time, especially if they might need it come Sunday, you know.
yeah,
Um, this will be those points where even during that first Washington game where Nick Sirianni seemed to be obsessed with the 4th and 1 call to the painful degree that destroyed the whole chemistry of that game for a little bit. I
yeah,
do not think I disagree if he decided to do a lot of 2 points for this upcoming game if he's not confident with Elliott, if it's like a certain amount of yardage. What do you say?
yeah. I mean, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's
You know what
gonna
I
be
mean?
because I mean, maybe because he hasn't been kicking that much lately, and that's probably why he's a little rusty.
Well, they
It's
had
not.
him
He's not.
starting off kickoffs, right? They started
Yeah,
they
now.
started using
Yeah,
him in the beginning now, yeah.
yeah.
So maybe that might be the difference, but he still did miss one, right? During this last week or two. Did he still
He
miss one
missed.
of them?
It was a 50 yarder, wasn't
It
it?
was a
Yeah,
50 some yarder, yeah. So
yeah.
he still
It was.
missed.
It wasn't a chip shot by the least. I mean, it was far, but
Oh, it was far, but the
and it
fact that he
was
normally can hit them,
and it was in a wind and it was a windy day too.
it
So I
was
mean,
windy. Yes, you keep all those factors in, but normally Jake the Snake used to always make that stuff regardless. So it is a little nerve wracking because if it becomes something on his foot, I mean, Sirianni decided to be a little gun shy wouldn't shock me, during the next matchup. Now, mind you, the Packers game, obviously the first game of the season, Eagles were totally novice with their new lineup, and they still managed to win that game. But we also noticed there was fumbles. There were 2 picks that Hurts threw. So we
mm.
have to be mindful of how they divvy up the pass rushing ratio. What are your thoughts on how this Packers game, how they should play it now? Because they kind of
Well,
are
they're
both
playing,
dealing with
but the
different
thing is,
guys.
it's hard to compare that team because they're playing completely different than they were
Yeah,
back then.
yeah, you're right.
I mean, they're a different team. The defense is playing better. The offense is clicking. Like there was times when they should have blew the doors off of the Packers the first time, but
Hmm.
the offense wasn't clicking like you thought it would, and the defense couldn't stop, couldn't hold points off.
And
But
they were still
now,
getting to know each other. Yeah.
yeah, as of late, like now, uh, they're just a very stingy defense now compared to how they've been playing. I mean, they've only had what a few games and they've given up 30 points, right?
Hmm.
I mean, last week what they barely get. I mean, at first, I mean, it was they gave up what like 3 points for most of the game,
Maybe
and
3 points. Yeah, because it took a while
yeah,
for yeah, it took a while for them to both on both sides actually. It took them a while to get
yeah, and they got some
rhythm.
trash. They got some trash time scores too that
Hmm.
affected the thing. But a lot of times they only gave up one TD to a team.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I mean, that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, with them being more aggressive on defense, and also Jordan Love is not 100% healthy either,
No, and you have to
and
consider Christian Watson just went
they
down,
just
one of their
lost their
best
deep.
wide
They just
receivers.
lost their deep threat. Yeah.
Yeah, but they still got
So,
Jaden Reed, who was giving them
oh yeah,
headaches
yeah,
during that game, the first matchup. So yeah, Jaden Reed is still going to be someone who, and they also, I was listening to Inside the Birds. They made the good point that Cooper Rush wasn't in the game that game, the first game. So now you'll see how Cooper Rush will be tested, probably deal with the Jaden Reed or guarding somebody to that degree. Now that he's more familiar with the defense scheme, and now because they
yeah.
didn't use him because he was injured
Yeah,
from
but the Gene, I think he'll be. I think they'll just be fine. I mean, if they keep playing the way they've been playing all week, I just love how they tackle now. They swarm to the ball. It's like,
Yeah, they
yeah,
definitely stressed the tackling, which needed
always
to be
you turn
addressed
around,
after
there's
last
like
year.
actually there's like three guys where the ball is, like, and
Yep.
they get the person's getting gang tackled,
Yeah. And they
and
had
that
and
and
they
that
had Ed Reed Blankenship. So this time Ed
and that's
Reed is
good.
back. So there's more likely going to be I'm just gonna predict. I believe there's gonna be 2 picks from the Eagles for this game. One in the first half and I think in another just as the game is about to end. I predict.
I think Reed will get one.
Yeah, definitely Reed. He seems to understand where Jordan Love is supposed to be with the ball.
And do you think Quinion finally gets his first one?
Get out of my head. I was just scared to say that. I'm like, this might be the game. This might be the game.
I mean,
Here's the thing, though. We
he
gotta hope that
almost got
CJ don't
he
blow it
almost
up
got
for him.
one. And they're gonna say caught. Well, he didn't know he was behind him. He just jumped
I'm
and
just
caught it.
saying. both opportunities have been ruined by his own men. So
Yeah.
let's
Hey,
just
but you
pray
know
that
what?
if Quinion is open, that he is actually physically around the ball this time.
Well, at least he's
Gets it
there
out
to
of Super.
even, at least he's even there to even be close to it.
Right,
I mean,
right,
it's
right,
that just
right.
shows you he should be defensive rookie of the year. He should be.
Yeah, because they're not throwing one his way. Like if they do get in his area, it's probably because his guy moved. Because majority
Yeah.
of the time, the reason why you don't see Quinion getting balls is because the ball is never really thrown near him unless he's in the end zone. So, but that's what makes this game even more exciting. If this happens to be his first actual pure interception without any interference from his fellow teammates,
Yeah.
you know, no
Yeah.
CJ, no, because CJ always seems to be around, and no Reed Blankenship, like nobody gets in his way, and he can get a clean off ball, or at least like, juggle it to himself and bring it in. That would
Mm,
be a great way to end an exciting playoff game. You're right. These are two different teams now. Like you said, the defense is way more comfortable.
yeah.
Um, I expect at least Nolan to get at least one sack on Jordan
He's
Love.
been, yep. He's been
He's
turning it
been
on the
breaking
past
out.
2 weeks. Like,
He's been breaking out. And I think whatever was said earlier in the year about him, both him and Jordan Davis, Big Baby Davis, they have both made up for a lot of what they were lacking or what they just didn't realize they needed to do after like week 5 or 6. I think they started popping out, maybe even a little before. But like I said, even before this season started, we both discussed it. Like we had to be patient with the fact that every year there's going to be new faces and it's going to create a delay in the chemistry until they all come off this season with pretty much the same people. If they keep the same general crew, even in
mhm.
coordinators next year, God bless. Like, hope Kellamore doesn't leave because I'm thinking maybe he might be the reason why it's not so confusing looking on the offense. But if they decide to keep him next year and he decides to stay, God knows what will happen, how smoother this team will look in the early part of next season
Yeah.
uh, once they have some continuity.
Well, we know Vangio doesn't want to go anywhere. He said he wants to retire here,
Which is fine.
which is fine with
I'm
me.
not worried about defense. I'm always just worried about offense because
Well,
that
but when
has
he said that, I was like, that is
yeah.
perfect. Like, he said he
He's
wants
like,
to.
I'm old. it took me
Yeah,
it
I
took me
mean,
long enough to be here anyway.
yeah, I mean, he started his career here too, which is hilarious. Now he's going to end it here, which is great. So,
It's 360. It's a perfect way to end your career 360. Now, how do we feel also too? Now, mind you, now it's the playoffs. I personally wasn't thinking about it, but now that some people are talking about on the other teams that most likely like Detroit will probably get Aiden Hutchinson back if they do get to like the final round before Super Bowl, if Aiden Hutchinson is able to come back. What if we get BG back? Do you think we could get BG back after this game?
I thought he was done for the year though.
I thought so too, but then I thought, what if for some weird reason, like say they go
Hmm.
to the conference championships and BG is able to play? Like I would assume he's coming off the bench because they wouldn't want to ruin any chemistry already established. But what would you say to that?
I mean, if he's able to do it, I wouldn't be upset with it. But I also don't want to set him back if he wants to try and come back next year either.
True, true.
You
Do
know,
you think he would want to come back next year if say they do win Super Bowl? Do you think there's a point in him coming back
if
one more
they
year?
win, I don't know. Maybe he'll hang it up. I
Yeah,
don't know if he wants to go out on an injured season though. That's the thing.
I was thinking that too, but then I'm like, he already has a ring, and to see this new squad that he worked with for his last year on his 15th year win a ring too, then he's got 2 rings coming back. Would he just want to feel greedy about it, or would he just want to be like, you know what, I'm good. I got 2 rings. There's no
Mm,
reason to push myself and rush myself back at this point.
hey,
I
bring
got
him
my
back as a coach.
postseason. Yeah, yeah, and
put
honestly,
him
I feel like he, like
put him in the
Kelsey, has
office.
very coaching type of,
Yeah, put him in the office or something. Yeah,
yeah,
like
like some kind of assistant to the assistant, whatever the hell they call ambassador. I mean, they're always
yeah.
going to make the former guys ambassadors on some level, so we know we're going to see him
Mm,
again anyway. But I would like BG to consider like a defensive coordinator type position later in his life. Shout out to Deshaun Jackson, who was officially named coach of
head
Delaware
coach of
State
Delaware State. Yeah,
for HBCU. That's a good look. That's a good look for him, as well as Michael Vick, like
yeah,
we said before, with coach of Norfolk. It's a good look now, especially with Deion Sanders kind of starting that trend of former NFL alumni becoming successful coaches. I mean, Colorado, both Buffaloes went to their first bowl, and even though they lost, it was a good look for Deion to flip a team that was so terrible the year prior, and
yeah.
now to have a Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter and now that Shador, I think, is going
Did he
to,
declare?
yeah, he declared for the
He declared
draft.
already? Okay, good.
He
All right.
declared. I don't know about Shiloh though. I don't know about if Shiloh's doing it too because he's a defensive player.
I'm just
I don't.
curious of where Hunter's going to go. What position is he going to swing to?
Okay, here's the thing. This is what I was going to get to too, because the exciting part of the season too is what no one's really discussing is that the Eagles swept both the Giants and Cowboys this year, which is great
Yes.
because they haven't. I've been waiting for them to sweep Dallas because it hasn't happened in a long time. I always accept when they split, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
unfortunately, we lucked out with Dak not playing both games, so we lucked out there. And then the Giants just suck.
I
But
was hoping we were going to pull the clean sweep in NFC East, but we didn't.
yeah, we could have. They could have
We came
almost. So I almost kind of feel
we
that like
came up a couple points shy of that. So I
came up
mean,
a couple points shy, but for me, it would have happened had Hurts not been injured. But yes, you're right. But
mhm.
look at how these guys are declaring for the draft. Looking at it now after watching our poor Penn State guys almost get that mother freaking
Oh God,
game last night was so
just
painful because just one
just
little pick, one damn pick away
yeah.
from winning that.
All he had to do was get them down the field and get them in
Just
field
check
goal
it
range.
down, yeah. So you get the three
He
pointers, but we saw possibly a future tight end from our Penn State
and
what are
Tyler
they?
Warren,
Penn State Lions,
Tyler
Nittany
Warren, yeah.
Lions. So yeah, Tyler Warren. So shout out to him. But also these other players like from Georgia, that Carson Beck kid is declared. I feel like there's a lot more kids declaring for the draft more than I would anticipate for the pros. I just feel like we already have. I mean, with Bryce Young having his resurgence this season, even though Panthers are pretty much a joke right now, do you
Mhm.
feel like some kids are declaring too soon? Like, do you feel like some kids are just like, why don't you just wait? Like, because right now the quarterbacks in the NFL are just rotating carousels. Like, nobody's
Yeah.
really hitting as fast as they would?
Well, I mean, sometimes they got. I mean, if they're having a great season, they got to start strike while it's hot. To say, okay, well, this is my junior year, and I'm playing the best I can. So I mean, I got a good season going. They maybe, and my stock is very high right now, so it's time to go. That's the thing because
I
you
mean, I
got
can understand Shador in that sense, but I don't understand with the Carson Beck kid because I don't really feel like he's that great of a quarterback. Because even with the Riley Leonard from Notre Dame, even if they do or don't win the actual natty, it's like
yeah,
because he's Notre Dame, is that a reason why he should declare? Like some of these kids, I feel like should just
yeah,
wait another year. I feel like some kids are just feeling the
because
pressure.
not all of them are going to be ready. I mean, that's the thing.
No, they're not. Some of them are going to sit for a year or two.
Yeah,
Is that the reality that they're prepared for? I just wonder about it, and it's probably just worrying me because part of me feels like as long as it's taken Bryce Young to even get the respect, even during his draft, knowing how he was considered the smallest guy out of the quarterbacks, and then to finally have like his start, then have a really rough season, drop off, get benched, and then come back when it doesn't really matter, but you see now that he's capable of leading a team, whether or not it's a good or bad team. Then you have the question of Atlanta now dealing with the fact that even when they started Penix, he wasn't that great, but he also wasn't that bad.
mm,
And the fact that coincidentally, them and Bryce Young, it came down to that last week of game to actually see what those two rookie quarterbacks were capable of. But yet, Falcons got a $40 million backup now, and what's his name? And Kirk Cousins.
and Kirk Cousins, yeah,
So you just kind of wonder, like, the
yeah,
quarterback situation is not always that secure. I mean, they don't even know what the JJ kid in the Vikings yet is like yet because Darnold had such a great year up until
yeah,
this last week with Detroit. So that could flip too,
yeah.
you
But
know?
I don't think they're going to switch quarterbacks right now. Like they wouldn't
Uh,
switch quarterbacks going into the playoffs. Like because he's had such a good year in general. Like they're gonna put him out there again, see what happens.
you talking about Darnold?
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think Darnold, he did turn a corner, but I don't know if you watched the Detroit game. I felt like he was starting to regress again. He
or
was showing
maybe
the old, he was
or he
showing
just,
the New York
or he
Jets
just is,
Darnold.
he just still his old self. That's
He
all.
just
Like,
goes back, right? So you kind of wonder. It's like, okay, you got JJ there, who unfortunately couldn't even get a chance to start because he injured himself in like training camp, I think, even or preseason. So it's like you don't know what that kid is capable of. But do you want to risk it knowing Sam Darnold may get to the playoffs and be one and done for a team
mhm.
that pretty much kicked ass all season up until now? Like, It's
Yeah.
just high risk, low reward. I just feel like when it comes to QB carousel, and even with our quarterback, as long as mind you, I don't care about national appeal. Jalen Hurts still gets skepticism from people in general, even now in
Oh
his
yeah.
fifth or sixth
He
season.
he's always getting
So,
criticized. Yeah. Like they say,
and I
oh,
have
he's
too.
not.
I'm guilty of it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
sit here and say I wasn't all up, saying you got one more year, Hurts, and
But
you
then
got one more year.
yeah,
But
but then you see what happens when he's not in there.
right, right,
And the Washington game is a great
perfect
example
example. Yeah,
of what happens when he's not there. I mean, with him, they always have a chance to win. Like
yeah.
always
The
have a chance
momentum
to win.
died definitely when he went
Yeah.
down. You're right.
I
You're
mean,
right. Yeah,
he doesn't do enough to the great thing about him, he doesn't do enough to lose you the game. Like he's
this is
not.
true.
That's what he does. Like he's going to put you in every like, chance to win the game. Like I
Right.
mean, come on, like his second was his second first Super Bowl, and he balls out. Like yeah,
And even when he fumbled, and they still came in within a tie.
yeah,
So
he against a team and that was a better Chiefs team
that
back
was
then
a better
too.
Chiefs team. Yeah.
Yeah, like, that was a
That
great
wasn't what
Chiefs
you're
team.
getting this year. Unpredictable
No,
as
no, it's
hell.
not.
Nobody
Yeah,
talking about them, but they still winning every game
and
by like the skin of their teeth.
they still got the refs help in that game too. But
Of course. Yeah, there was some blatant obvious. That's why I said our game was no different when you really look back at it. Because if that flag never happened, we would have had that game. But
because
you're right.
we
They
had them
can't be
stopped
saved
and we
all.
were getting the ball back. Yeah,
Right. But they
yeah,
can't win every game like that when it comes to higher
hmm
stakes because we know
yeah.
that many teams have gone 16-0 and then been one and done in the playoffs. So it could very much happen to the Chiefs if they. We already saw what happened because I just saw a clip from was it Bomani? One of those podcasts was saying that they think that the Chiefs threw it so that the Bengals couldn't get in. And I thought about that later, and I said, wouldn't shock me, but knowing that Mahomes is already injured, like I think they
mm,
really just were smart to just rest everybody. But to know that Carson Wentz didn't do a damn thing to make that team competitive. I mean, 38-0. I mean,
I
damn.
mean, in all honesty, Denver's not a bad team though either. So
No,
that's
they're not. Bo
they.
Nix had a
Bo
big
Nix
year.
he's
Yeah.
coming to his own. Like,
Yes, he
yeah,
did. Very much so. I think he went from very shaky to very reliable. Like, I don't feel like Peyton's lucky. Like, he's lucky that that kid pulled it in as fast as he did because
yeah.
I looked at Peyton and said, I can't wait for someone to fail because you're such a bastard. I'm still mad at him for how he treated Russell. But and granted, maybe he knew something we didn't obviously with Russell because look at the Steelers. Like now everyone's already
Mm.
predicting them to be
I
one and
still don't
done
like
in the
Sean Payton, and
playoffs.
I never will. So
No, I don't like him either. I still think he's
yeah,
shady as hell, but I think that because he had one Super Bowl under his belt with a one of a kind QB that he thinks that every player should play like that. It's like adapt, motherfucker. Just adapt.
yeah.
Like but the point is now the playoffs can change obviously the blink of an eye. So
Hmm.
I just heard them discuss it on the best show ever, and I don't know your opinion. You've been out more than I have, so I was supposed to go out tonight and things got canceled. But have you felt like everybody is in playoff mode ready, or do you feel like people are still like, who cares until the game comes?
No, I think people are hyped.
Okay, I
People are
wouldn't know because
excited. I
I'm just in
mean,
my own house, so I don't know.
what I can see, people look they're ready for it. I mean, I mean, I keep getting phone calls. Oh, what are you doing for the game? Text myself. What are you doing for the game? What are you doing for the game? I'm like, oh, calm down. Like,
Yeah. Because
yeah.
it's a Sunday game, 4:30, which I'm fine with because usually that gives me time to decide to get my butt out and walk for a bit, kill some time, maybe get something to eat. But I know they were saying that on Best Show Ever today, and I think they were basing it off of callers because they felt like a lot of callers were more worried. But lo and behold, Hertz spoke today, and they made Hertz talk today in the presser, so he's officially out of protocol. He's already practiced 3 days straight, so he's good. Like I believe he's good. What the only thing that makes me nervous is because he's such a studious person and likes to be studying and stuff week after week. He wasn't allowed to
Hmm.
do that during protocol. So I think that's what put a little worry in some of the callers that called saying he still seems concussed to me. He wasn't able to study until this week. Doesn't that make you nervous? I'm thinking the opposite. Knowing that Hertz is such a method type of QB, I feel like it's good that he has a little spontaneity in his pocket because I feel like a little bit of lack of con, what's the word? A little bit of lack of like constant studying might actually
Hmm.
help him improvise without hesitation. Because I feel like people like that who are so method, when they can't break out of their method, they don't
Yeah.
know how to adapt quickly. So I feel like for Hurts, this might actually be good for him to have taken 2 weeks off from
Yeah.
having his face in the books. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Get his mind right, get everything right.
get his
Yeah.
mind
Like,
right, let him enjoy people, kind of communicate with, everybody else outside of football. Like, I feel like maybe it might have probably annoyed him, but I also feel like it might be good for him to think on his feet quicker.
yeah.
I'm not worried about it like some people are, but I mean, I feel like those who worry about Hurts just don't like Hurts anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I
Yeah,
feel like
true.
with me, I feel like it might have been good for him to just kind of zone out, chill out, get better. What I did know is it's his first concussion. I thought he had a concussion in college. He said this is his first concussion.
No, apparently no. It was his first one. Yeah.
So I think what he had before in college was an ACL or one of those. So,
Mm.
and he's had bad ankles, so it's probably most likely makes sense. But I don't know. I mean, how are you feeling about the game in general? Do you feel like even with the missing pieces on the Packers side that they can still obviously be a threat?
Well, I mean, they're a professional team. They always be a threat. Doesn't matter. I mean, these guys are professionals. I mean, they're not like just like some random people playing. So I mean, I think we still have to be careful of them
Yeah.
because they are professionals, and it's. I mean, yeah, okay, they're missing X, Y, Z, but they can still be dangerous as well. So
They still got Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs can
yeah,
hit them gaps every now and then.
yeah,
And
and
we got Saquon. So hoping
yeah.
Saquon can find a hole like no
Well,
one's ever found it
We held
before.
Josh Jacobs anyway, and then we hold Josh Jacobs pretty well in the
Yeah,
first round.
yeah, they did. They
Yeah.
did. But I'm just saying,
So
like, anything can, any given Sunday, they could break a hole. But my whole thing is, I feel like this type of game to me comes down to, I don't even think it's even more pressure on Hurts and Love. I think it's more pressure on Saquon and Jacobs because I feel like the running game always determines to me how the
mhm.
offense as a whole will run. So
Yeah,
even if they do, like, because we know what happens every first quarter. Although they did score in the first quarter in Week 18, which I was like, oh, look at that, they got an easy touchdown. That was quick.
I know,
But
right?
yeah, first quarter, this with Hurts being a little rusty, I'm expecting like no score in the first quarter at all.
Uh,
Um,
I don't know if Russ is going to play in a factor with him. I think he's going to be ready for it. I think because the lights are going to be bigger. I think he's going to show up for it. So
I'm not gonna contradict what I just said, but I just feel like I think it's natural. It's just like when
Mhm.
Goddard was out there. When I saw a few of his plays, I was like, ooh,
But we all know he can go be quiet in the first quarter and
yeah.
then score like in every other one after that. So,
And that's honestly,
yeah,
has that not been the MO the whole
you
season?
know,
Like they can start
all
slow
of a
and
sudden,
then
seven, 14. Like
yeah, like third quarter, it's like what deficit? You know what I mean?
what
But of
happened,
course,
right? Gone.
yeah. So I'm not nervous. I see this as a 10-point win for the
That's a lot.
Eagles.
That's what I heard from a lot of people.
Yeah, I
Like
feel
a
like
lot
either
of
5 to 10
predictions.
point
Yeah.
win.
Somebody said 20-10. Someone said 27-17. Like,
Okay,
yeah,
that seems realistic. I mean, it's going to be
yeah,
cold, so I
yeah,
don't expect the ball to be flying crazy in the air. That's why I say there might be a running back battle by like second half, less of a quarterback issue. Um,
yeah.
you definitely have to be concerned about ball security, not even just for Jalen, but all the players, because when it's cold, as we know, it gets hard to handle that ball all the time, especially when they're trying so hard to make a play. So just pray that ball security is not the factor on either side. You know what I mean? That we can just have a good, clean game. And if there is a fumble, it works in the Eagles' favor, not against them. Like we want to
Hmm.
have one of them peanut punch outs that works for us and not against us.
Yeah.
So want to be smart with the ball. That's definitely something I'm looking forward to. And also, after this, what would be the next round? They would be against most likely what the Bucks would be the
It would
next
be,
round, supposedly.
well, whoever wins. Yeah, it all depends on who wins. Like,
Right. It's
uh,
Commanders and Buccaneers. So I'm hoping Commanders just because I want a
because
rematch
the lowest seed, it wouldn't be the Commanders if we'd get, because remember the lowest seed
to the
would
higher
go
seed.
to play to Detroit.
Okay.
The lowest seed remaining will play Detroit.
Okay.
It wouldn't be us because we're two. So if Washington wins, because they're a six seed, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, Washington six seed. Because if we knock out the Packers at seven, that leaves Washington. Washington wins, they have to play Detroit. and we would get the winner of the. We'd have to play. Uh, we'd have to
I
play.
think we have to play the Bucks. I thought someone keep talking about the Buccaneers a lot.
Yeah, well, who the Bucks playing? Washington, right?
Yeah, they are playing Washington. That's why I
Yeah,
was
but
saying I'm like either or. Wouldn't we have to fight either or next round?
yeah, it would be no, it
That's
would
what
be
I'm
whoever.
saying.
Yeah, it would be ever who. It would be the highest seed remaining from that group. Like if we get through, I mean,
That's why I
lowest seed
said.
from that group, lowest
That's
seed
why I
from that
said.
group.
Yeah, lowest seed
So,
I think would be Washington. So that's why I said I'm convinced that we.
but Washington, but not the lowest seed would go to Detroit though. Detroit is number one. They have to play whoever has a
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
they
because
play the
that's why I
lowest
was
seed.
confused. Yeah. All right.
So we
Either
would
way, you have to pay
play.
attention to the other matchups this on Saturday.
So yeah, then we would end up if Washington won that game, we'd end up playing the winner of the Rams and the Vikings game,
Mm-hmm.
who we would get.
I wouldn't
If
mind playing the Rams again. Vikings may worry me a little bit, but not really because you can shake Darnold up.
yeah,
Rams will be fun the next round time around. I think
I mean we already know we can beat them too. We beat them help.
we
They had a
beat them
healthy team. We
before.
beat them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Either way, this is going to be good. I'm excited. I'm not as hyped yet, but I was more excited to see her speak today. I ain't gonna lie. 'Cause normally I hate pressers, but to
I
actually
missed the
see him out
presser. I didn't
there.
get a chance to see it.
Yeah, I mean, he just sounded. He was short as usual, but they said he sounded like he turned up more when they asked him about how did you feel the backups
Oh
played, and he
shoot,
said
sorry.
he said I was really excited for them. It was good to see them play. I've watched Tanner prepare all this year, and I'm really proud. And so he was giving
No,
them a
I
lot
would
of
be happy.
props.
I would be happy. Sorry, I'd be happy too. I'm like
I
dropping
would be
stuff
happy
here.
too, especially. Well, I mean, this is why fans really like Tanner because we know what we see. And a caller called in before we wrapped this up. A caller called in today on before I dozed off on the best show ever, and they said that what the fans are generally obsessed with is a guy that looks like he can handle being in the pocket and can see over the offense, and that's really
Hmm.
what that's part of. I think some of the issues that some fans have with Hurts is that they know that he runs because he can't always see the field staying in the pocket. So, and that's why I think like someone like Lamar has no problem with it either because Lamar's taller. So I can see why they can get on Hurts about leaving the pocket too early. But I also feel like he's also learned when to run more this year than any of
Yeah,
the other years. I
instead of
don't
sprint
always think
running
it's
around in the backfield, just go.
yeah, I don't think it's his first instinct anymore unless there's been push obviously in a certain, whatever game it is, if he feels like they're getting more up in the center, then he'll run.
Yeah.
I feel like he's escaping less, and if he does do it, it's strictly because he knows AJ's there or Devonta's over there.
Hmm.
But I have no complaints, so I'm like you. I'm excited for it. I'm glad it's like one of the earlier games. You don't have to wait till like 8, because I just want to get this first round over with. And whoever it is, Commanders, Buccaneers, Vikings, whoever, just bring it the fuck on.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Let's go. And as far as the warm up video, I just saw it briefly with Shady. I was like, that didn't feel like much of a hype video to me, but it wasn't bad. I don't know.
It,
Whoever
it
used
was
to edit
short.
the
It
hype
was
videos
short.
before was it was short,
It
but I
was
also
short
felt like
too.
there was
Yeah.
more exciting mashups with the voiceover before. I'm like, shit, they want to hire me? I'll do it, Eagles. I will be your voiceover for your next hype video for second round. I volunteer as
Last year
tribute.
was cool. They did some good ones last year.
Yeah, I love y'all, but do better. Anyway, all right. So Birds of a Feather, we out. First broadcast of 2025. More to come because we shall be broadcasting through the Super Bowl.
Let's say so we go
One
all the
game
way
at
to
a
NOLA,
time, though.
all the way to NOLA.
All the way to NOLA. Praise God. And God bless any of those who are dealing with the fires in West
Oh yeah.
California. I've been texting in with my friend, and she's doing fine. So to all those, if you know people out there, just give them prayers, given time. It's just all a test. They will recover just fine. And for those who lost their lives, just pray for their families and pray for strength and support any of the GoFundMe's out there because people need stuff quickly. So, but anyway, be thankful. It's a new year and this is a new pod, and we shall be back after game 1 of the playoffs. Peace out. Birds of a
Later.
feather, we out. Me and Eddie B. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.